I think I got the agenda up.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on why you should build an Azure practice. My name is Akila, and I'm an Associate Product Marketing Manager here at Sherweb, and I'll be your host for today. Before we dive in, I'd like to cover a couple of housekeeping items. First, this session is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the recording along with the slides after the webinar. Second, we do have a Q&A window as well as a chat. Please feel free to drop your questions in there during the presentation, and we'll try to address them as we go. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end where you can answer your questions. So on to today's webinar. Today we have Jason Lambert who will be presenting. Jason is Sherweb's advocate of Azure. He is a cloud infrastructure veteran with over 10 years of experience assisting MSPs in enhancing their Azure skill sets and building IS solutions for their clients. We also have Andrew Davidson, who will be joining us for this webinar. Andrew is Senior Manager here at Sherweb, who leads our professional services team. We'll be hearing from him shortly on how his team can help you build your Azure practice. With that, I'll hand it over to Jason.
Thanks, Akila. Hello, everybody. Super excited today about the content that we are about to bring to you. Building an Azure practice is something that we know is not simple to do. It takes a lot of time and effort and energy. And so we've really put some good thought amongst our team into what we want to present to you today. And I hope you enjoy it. So why bother building an Azure practice? I think that's, the biggest question. So we wanted, before we get to the when, we wanted to address the why. What's in it for you and why should you care? Well, number one, if you see the top right corner, there's literally $100 billion worth of Azure available in North America in 2025. So getting your slice of that 100 billion, and I know when you talk in the billions, it's like whatever, pie in the sky, because it's more than I could ever get to or we could ever, grab. But taking your piece of that is surely very, very important. Two, if you're not taking advantage of Azure, you're actually leaving thousands of dollars of margin and rebates and incentives on the table. You do get some margin by working with Sherweb and having your customers come through. So basically, you set up a subscription through Sherweb, and your customers take advantage of the Azure service. But there's rebates and incentives through Microsoft, depending on what level of relationship you have with Microsoft, what certifications you have with Microsoft, and where you specialize your business and your offering through Microsoft. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I would encourage you, and I'm going to say this a lot throughout the presentation, I should anyway, but please reach out to your account manager and let them know you would like to ensure that you're in a position of maximizing all your rebates and incentives from Microsoft. And we have at least 2 people on staff, and their full-time job for free is, and if you let them, to go into your Microsoft Partner Center profile, and they can actually make sure that the right buttons and radials are clicked for you to ensure you're getting all those benefits. Building an Azure practice helps your team build new skill and stay competitive in the marketplace. Sure, customers are still on-prem today. There's lots of opportunity in the hardware space. There's also a ton of opportunity in the Azure space. And what we're seeing is, and I've worked with partners for many, many years now. I think I go back to about 2011 when I started in cloud, so to say, as it is today. A little bit about me, it was 2015 or 2016 when Azure came to the channel, and I was voluntold to kind of be the field technical consultant for Microsoft Azure. So I've seen and talked with a lot of partners, and staying competitive in the market, learning new skills, and ensuring that you're offering Azure to your customers helps keep your competition at bay or away. Position your business to take advantage of the growing demand for cloud services. As I said when I started off, you're looking at about $100 billion worth of Azure in the market in North America alone. Forget about the rest of the world, just in North America. So even if we said, this is a bad number, and we said maybe 25% is actually available, there's still a lot of money to be made. Prepare for the future to utilize advanced solutions and services to include AI. If you haven't noticed, if you have been in the Azure portal, just beside the search bar to the right, you will see Copilot available, and AI is also available in services like Fabric, for example, and it really will help you automate the process and provide and have intelligence to help you identify what you want to do and how you want to do it within the Azure framework itself. There's a lot going on in Microsoft Azure, and I would say it's impossible basically for any one person to really understand all. There's over 200 different products and services. So being able to get AI involved really will help you leverage maybe different services that you may not think about leveraging today, and taking advantage of all that Azure has to offer you. And then to meet the demands of a remote and potentially global talent base. You've got, after what happened just a few years ago, the economy changed. We're still in I would like to say, an uncertain economy to some degree. People are working remotely. They're working, more and more people, I would say, have uh, um, the ability to work remote, whether it be within the same country or a different country. So being able to find the best talent may require you to look outside of, your town, city, or local area, and taking advantage of people in different parts of the country or different parts of the world. With Azure, and if you're already doing this with 365, wonderful. I'm thrilled. If you're in the 365 space and you're building your cloud business, kudos to you. That's an awesome thing. But you're missing out on the Azure portion of the business, and you're building an annuity business that keeps on giving. So once you get the customers moved into Azure, it's not very likely that they're going to move away. And usually, once we get them in, get them optimized, and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, once you get them in Azure and you get them optimized, they never have to go through hardware refreshes. So some of your project work that you historically had done on-prem is now moved into the cloud, and you just got to figure out, maybe there's different projects that are coming up, or the customer needs to add additional services because of seasonal work, and those things you're gonna find those opportunities as your customer continues their journey in the cloud.
Jason, before we move on, we have a question in the chat.
Yep.
Can you kind of explain what an Azure practice is at a high level and what we define that as, and what you MSPs do with it?
That's actually really a great question. So an Azure practice is, I want to say like a medical practice, right? And maybe a medical practice that specializes in, knees or hips or something more specific than just a general doctor. I think that's the direction I'm going. So you may have an MSP, so a managed service provider business today, where you offer managed services or perhaps pro services to your customer. To us at Sherweb, having an Azure practice means a focus. And this slide actually really is a great slide to answer some of answer that question. And if you look at the top of it, I say, don't sell Azure. And the reason why I put that up and I'm calling it out is because I think a lot of people think of Azure in the same way as we think of what the traditional commodity business that we've been doing over the years. For example, if you looked at Office 365, if you need 10 business premium licenses, 5 business standard licenses, and a couple of basic licenses, those are all licenses that you can get a quote for and you can pay for, and the customer can take advantage of. We kind of know what the end goal is for all those licenses. It's for productivity for the user. Thus far in my career, I don't think really I've ever had somebody call me up or send me a message and say, Jason, I need 10 servers and 5 hard drives and 10 IP addresses, and I need them all in Microsoft Azure. I've never kind of seen that model before. To me, that's more of like a commodity sale. The way I see a lot of people sell Azure, successful partners sell Azure, is in a solution sale. So what is a solution sale? It's asking the customer open-ended questions and identifying pain points that you know Azure can solve for. Example, I had a customer that was working in it's a chemical company. They're still around today. We had a conversation, asked open-ended questions, how things were going, what were some of their business challenges, and I've got more slides down below to validate some of this stuff and to give you some ammunition. But basically, he was using terminal services, having some challenges with his organization. I presented Azure Virtual Desktop as a solution. The customer was interested, and we offered a proof of concept. Proof of concept is POC, where we at Sherweb would provide dollars for your customer to try the service and see how it works for them. And this customer had a great POC, and today they're running about 130 or 140 AVD desktops. So that's Azure Virtual Desktop up in Azure. So super exciting. And it led, as we had that conversation, I kept asking more open-ended questions. We wound up winning their 365 business, which was thousands of dollars. And then we wound up winning their Azure business from a co-location. All in total, it started off with some open-ended questions. And by the end of the conversation, when we were finished, we were about $14,000 or $15,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue from the one customer just asking open-ended questions and using Azure to solve their business need. So one of the biggest challenges, I want to be quick with time because I've got a special guest on, Andrew Davidson, and he has a hard stop at 1:30. So I'm gonna go for about 5 more minutes. I'm gonna get to his slide. If I miss anything, I'm gonna circle back. But building an Azure practice is thinking cloud first, right? You can still sell hardware. I'm not saying don't sell hardware. If you're a hardware seller today and you have a successful business, all I'm asking you to do is make sure your customer knows that you sell Azure and you're thinking about cloud because your customer is thinking about cloud. Whether they move to cloud today or tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, it's going to happen at some point, and you want to be there for them when they make that decision. So if they don't know that you can do it, they may not ask. They may wind up talking to somebody else. Or, for example, I've historically worked with the telco community. So we, as MSPs, would think of them as people managing their telephony and telephones and voice connectivity, but they're learning Azure as well, those organizations. And I've had experiences where a customer used to work with an MSP, but now is moving to a telco customer who knows Azure because they didn't know that their MSP could do it as well. So being cloud first, super important. Saying that you want to do Azure and you want to build an Azure practice and doing it is two different things. You've got to be very intentional because Azure is going against the grain. And I got another slide. If you think of VMware and where VMware came into market, and all we as MSPs had to do to embrace VMware, it was a market disruptor, and it was a very hard transition. Azure is that similar disruptor, just further down the road. So aligning your people within your organization. So me as a sales leader want to do Azure, but if my leaders don't want to do Azure, or they're not mentally ready to do it, well, they're not going to make much of a change. People don't like change. We like the status quo. And then if, let's hypothetically say you convince your leaders to make the change, then have you convinced your sellers? And if you, and your technical people, and if you convince them to make the change, that's great. Now, have you compensated them to make the change? And what do I mean by that? My understanding is, and I've not really worked in the MSP space, I work with, but not in. If I'm a hardware seller, I may sell $100,000 SAN to a customer and make 8 or 10% of that sale. In my pocket, the month that sand goes out to the customer and they get invoiced. If I sell a similar solution in Azure, it's a monthly reoccurring revenue model. I might make, if it's like $5,000 a month, maybe I make, $500, right? Or $400, like 10% of 5,000. How much longer as a sales rep is it going to take me to make my $8,000 to $10,000 on my hardware sale when I'm only making $500 a month on my cloud sale, right? That's a hard pill to swallow. So as a business owner, you need to figure out, are you going to compensate them more to do cloud or similar to do cloud? Could it be that you might take the first 2 monthly recurring revenue, so it's $5,000 a month, maybe the first 2 months of MRR, you're going to give that to your seller? Or are you going to get a different seller? So maybe George, and I'm just picking the name randomly, maybe he sells hardware and he sells it fantastically and you're happy with him and you don't want him to stop because he does everything just the right way. Maybe it's time to hire somebody else and only incentivize them on the cloud side. So they're not familiar with the big payouts on the large hardware deals. They're familiar with the model that you've structured for them to move your cloud business. Food for thought. There's no right or wrong answer, just things that I've worked with partners through. Only got a couple of minutes left. So, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So I've kind of talked to that. But building an Azure practice is saying to your team, we're going to win 2 or 3 Azure deals a month. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable to making sure we sell those deals. And we're going to do it for the next year, right? It's not a ton. You're not going to retire if you find customers and sell 2 or 3 deals, but it's changing the mindset and helping your team do something different and celebrating the wins. So when you win that first Azure deal, celebrate it with your team. How did you go about it? What open-ended questions did you use? And, paint the picture so the rest of your team can understand how to ingest it and move forward with it. I'm going to stop real quick because I got to get to Andrew. So I want to jump over and make sure we get some of his question. We've got a couple of things around pro services we want to talk to you about. And I wanted to bring Andrew in today because I want to be able to share with you that we have people here at Sherweb that can help you succeed. So maybe actually, I'll go back one slide real quick. So here you've got on the far right side of the slide, the chicken or the egg. And what I'm building up to is maybe you sold Azure before, and maybe it was a customer calling in and asking you if you could do Azure. So your team scrambles together, says, yes, we can do Azure. We'll help get that set up. And you work through the process, and then the customer's happy. And, you don't take that same mindset and sell it again until another customer asks for it. And part of that is maybe we don't have the technical expertise on staff to actually deliver Azure services effectively. So we're a little bit nervous to win opportunities and not be able to deliver. So it's a chicken and the egg. Do I get the technical expertise on staff and pay their salary and get them set up with benefits and all that stuff and hope I get deals? Or do I go get deals and I don't have a technical person? Well, that doesn't work for me either. So what we're proposing is to go get deals and reach out to your account manager, talk with our Azure team, and then get Andrew on the phone and his team on the phone, and they'll be able to help you deliver services. So Andrew, thanks for joining. I do have a couple of 2 or 3 questions that I'd like to kind of run by you. These are questions that I've had from partners before. So if you honor me, I'd like to share them with you and get your response. Oh, go again?
Nothing?
I got you.
You got me now?
Excellent. Yeah, I got you now. I hear you.
Oh, beautiful.
We're in. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Well, you know what, guys, I think that's a good, that's a good segue, right? Like,
yeah,
IT, like it fails, it works. So It's always good to have a team of professionals behind you that know what they're doing and know how to pivot. So excited to be here. Like I told Jason, like if I do well enough, like he might invite me to another webinar. If not, well, this is my first and my last. So great point. Like I tell my salespeople here at Sherweb is selling professional services or deployments is very interesting, right? Like it's very involved from end to end. What I tell them to do is focus on selling and we'll handle the delivery. So to you, my partners, even if you had a team of individuals who are, skilled and they're able to deliver and you have a well-oiled machine, the fact that professional services is variable or seasonal, sometimes you have a lot, sometimes you don't, we can play in both space, right? So we can help you if you do not have a mature practice. We can also help you if you do, where you need to scale. So we have a team of professional solution architect. We work along with our pre-sales SME. We have certified project managers. We have network people, and we try to cover the majority of the Azure stack. I won't tell you that we can do 100% because we do know that Microsoft keeps adding, and then Azure is wide, but we do a lot, including like your AVD deployment. We do ASR, which is site recovery. We do backup and storage. We do lift and shift or migrate, which is just simply moving workloads or getting people set up in the cloud. So my value prop to you guys is don't focus so much on that. How am I going to sell? How am I going to deliver? That's a burden that we want to take away from you. Like we spend a lot of time getting our certification, making sure that we follow Microsoft best practice, right? So that's one thing that I hear from a lot of partners, which you guys might be familiar with the term Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework. That's something that we use as part of our core strategy, right? So there's a lot of documentation, a lot of design, end-to-end, making sure that things are handed off properly. We also guarantee your work. So when a project is closed, we'll do a guarantee for like 2 to 3 weeks. And if there's anything that did not go according to the scope, then we will take care of it at no cost to the partners. I have some great news that right now we're doing a promotion for the next 3 months where we're looking to offer up to 20% discount on professional services. So if you are interested or you want to know more, I'd strongly encourage you to get in contact with your account managers.
Awesome. Yeah, and our just out of curiosity, this isn't a question that we've kind of prepared for, but you made comment that you can't do everything. Like I don't think any one organization could do everything in Azure. I believe I've heard we're working to kind of find other partners that can assist us if by chance we find something from a partner that's outside of our reach. Am I stepping over my reach?
For sure. Like we do have a partner ecosystem, but there's certain things like within the Azure stack that necessarily is not part of our core strategy. So that's what I mean when we may not have a offering at scale, but we're able to pivot. So what I usually encourage is that if you have an opportunity, have the conversation with Sherweb, and then we'll work with you to see if it makes sense, if it's something that we can deliver with our internal team, or if we need to partner with others. So I see that we have a question in the chat, Jason. I'll probably take this one before I go, which is, does Sherweb have .NET developers? So great question. We have developers internally, but it's mostly focused on Sherweb IP, not necessary for anything external. So for now, that's not a part of the market that we're playing in.
All right. And then just to really recap, I want to stress this point because I know I believe it's a stress for a lot of partners. So I just talked about the chicken and the egg, right? Do I go get an engineer at $150,000 a year and then hope my team goes out and gets Azure opportunities? My pitch to the partners is go get opportunities. Andrew, Sherweb, we've got the team to help you deliver, right? So can you just give us a little bit of like what that looks like? I reach out to my account manager.
Right. We don't want to necessarily come in at the back end, right? Like we want to help you. So even to qualify the opportunity or just to be able to do the discovery or answer some questions that your end client may have, like we have teams in place to support that. So a typical workflow would look like partner identifies an opportunity. You reach out to your account manager. They will engage our pre-sales SMEs. They'll help to qualify an opportunity, do the discovery, etc. And if they need to pull us in, they will. Once we have a understanding of what the customer is looking for, then we'll produce a statement of work. We'll do the conversational piece, make sure that everything is aligned to what you want. And once we have signatures on both sides, we'll execute. We'll have a project manager, which will start a project by doing a kickoff, and then we'll deliver and hand off. So pleasure to be here, guys. Next time, next time we do this, we'll make sure that stuff works. Thank you for your patience, and we're looking forward to your business. All the best, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. So Andrew's dropping off to get on a partner call now. He is highly engaged with the partner community, not just kind of managing the back end of it. He wants to be involved. He wants to help. He wants to make sure that you're getting the best services for your company to help your customers be successful up in Azure. So I just wanted to make sure that message gets out. And then I'm going to flip back just real quick because it was kind of a last minute opportunity to get Andrew in. So I wanted to make sure. But on this last slide, so here I said, you want to win 2 to 3 new Azure deals per month. Where's my little, my little pen here? Yeah, right here. 2 to 3 Azure deals. Now, and then the last part about building an Azure practice is you want to be intentional, right? You got to make it, actually there's one piece that seems to be missed in here, but it just came to mind. Who's going to be your Azure champion? Who wakes up in your practice or your MSP business and thinks Azure every day? Who's the one that comes to the meetings and says, hey, like how many Azure deals have we got on the, we said we wanted to do 2 or 3 Azure deals this month. How many have we got? How many do we need? And what are our roadblocks and obstacles? And if by chance you can't come up with the answers to that and you need help, we're here. Sherweb, I know the pre-sales team at Sherweb and myself, again, I've got probably more than 10 years in the. I've heard lots of commentary and challenges, and I've worked with partners. My job is to work with you to help you get there. So if you want a bi-weekly touch base meeting with me, I'm happy to put one down, half an hour every 2 weeks. How are we doing? What do we need? What obstacles are we running into? Like what's happening, what's not working right? Or what's working really, really well, and share. I would love to hear, because I take those messages to other partners. I got 40 here. I think we got 4,000 or something here at Sherweb. So I want to get the message out, and I want to make sure that people are getting best practices, or at least successful steps to build a practice. So some of the things that you can do, I'm on the last box here. Plan your work your plan. You've got customers whom you have really good relationships with. They're probably the most forgiving customers on the planet, the ones that you have good relationships with. I would start with them. Like, hey, can we get you in Microsoft Azure? Can we is not an open-ended question, but I just kind of threw it out there because it came off the top of my head. But yeah, and if something goes wrong, if there's a slip in the process, usually they're not going to beat you up, and then they'll work with you. You got a book of business that can be investigated for Azure opportunities. You've got customers that need hardware refreshes. Talk to our team. Our team is great at optimizing, taking traditional hardware and VMware opportunities and turning them into Azure opportunities. And then you may be thinking on the phone, well, you know what, Jason, I've had a couple of hardware opportunities. I've used the Microsoft calculator tool, and man, Azure is just expensive. And I will say, if you do that, it is expensive. You're um, you're putting apples and oranges and trying to figure out you got apples, you're using oranges and trying to figure out what the price is for apples. It won't work. So why won't it work? Because, and I say this with a grain of salt, we don't care about the hardware that your workloads are running in. We care a lot about the workloads your customer needs to run their business. Now, the hardware that you used is future proofing, and I got a slide on this, I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but it's future proofing the customer. I'm going to invest now, and I want it to last me 6, 7, 8 years. Azure's the opposite of that. Azure is, I need this workload to run effectively today in the next 6 months, and then probably within 3 to 6 months, I'm probably going to ask you to make some changes because the holiday season's here and I'm hiring in new people, and then I'm going to let them go at the end of the holiday season. So I need to be able to accommodate that. And then I've got, the spring season, and I'm going to hire new people for that. And, only for a couple of months. So my business is, ebbing and flowing and changing. I need that to happen, which is different than what we did on-prem, but I need to have that happen in Azure. On-prem, if the customer did that, you may turn around and tell them they've got to spend another X number of dollars to get another server, which is barely used for that holiday season or the spring season. That's expensive. That's money tied up in hardware when the customer could use it for other things and just pay the operational expenses of what's in Azure. You can find more, so try to focus and find more larger partners. I think these last ones, I'm pitching to the choir. You guys probably know this. I just want to refresh it and bring it up. You got 5 no's to get a yes, right? It's not the right time, not the right place, not the right person to make the decision. I don't have the right budget. All those are challenges, and I put down band here. You get the slide deck after if you want to see it, but it's budget, authority, need, and time. So make sure you find the right people to make the decisions. A lot of times, it's not your traditional IT team that makes the decisions. It's the owner. It's the C-level, the C-suite. People that are trying to save dollars and find more operational expenses than CapEx expenses. And if you come, I won't get through all that in this presentation, but the next one that's coming up is how to win your first deal. And I talk about CapEx and OpEx and total cost of ownership, because we at Sherweb have found that partners have challenges figuring out how to position an opportunity or position an Azure solution to the customer for success. So that's the next webinar coming up. If you don't know where to find it, all you have to do is go to sherweb.com/knowledge network, sherweb.com/knowledge-network, and sign up, register for that webinar. And I hope I can bring the same energy that I'm bringing to this one to that one. So skills development, if you haven't got certifications, in my humble opinion, anybody that's in your business should at least get the AZ or the SC 900 certifications. It's entry level. AZ is the entry level into Azure. SC is entry level in security. Security is probably just as important as Azure itself. Microsoft, I could do a whole other presentation on Azure security. Microsoft is in a whole different space than what we may remember them as back in the day, where we really didn't use Microsoft security for anything. Today, they're next to best in class for cybersecurity. And 2023, they won best in class by SE Labs, third-party research for email, which for me, I was like, wow, that's for Microsoft to be best in class in email. I haven't seen that before, but let's move on. So market competition, you want to be cloud first. You're competing against traditional competitors, but you also now have untraditional competitors, maybe people that you have a great relationship with. And by all means, as I'm saying this, if you have a great relationship with the telco that's at your customer, I'm not trying to like drive a wedge. If it's working for you, it's great. Just make sure your customer knows you do Azure, and if they need anything around Azure and Microsoft security, please reach out to you first. That's all I'm basically saying. So if I came at that a little bit hard, I'm not trying to put wedges where wedges don't belong. I'm just trying to point out things that in the market we've seen change. Protect your customer base, right? Initial incentives, back end incentives. Let's talk with our Sherweb team. Let's make sure that you're optimized. Again, our team will do it for you for free. Make sure you're capitalizing and letting you know, not only making sure that you're capitalizing on what you can get today, but also being able to say to you, hey, if you get this certification, if you move this way, you can set yourself up for X dollars of additional monthly back-end rebates that you don't have today. We had one partner, I heard a story at Sherweb, where I think we found like $3,000 or $5,000 a month. And he's like, how long have I been missing this? And they said, how long have you been a Microsoft partner? Like, don't know, but for a while, probably. So, and when I've been at 3 or 4 different distributors in my career over the last 10 years, Sherweb, as far as I know, is the only one that'll actually jump in your back office and make sure that you're aligned and maximizing your rebates from Microsoft. When I heard that, I was amazed. So please reach out to your account manager, let them know you want a call and you want to maximize your back-end rebates, and all the account managers know who to reach out to get on there. We've already done this slide. Revenue opportunities, so subscription-based services. If you've already got Microsoft 365 and maybe some other cloud services, there's a piece of the pie that you're missing. I was trying really hard for this presentation to get a breakdown from a successful MSP who has an Azure practice, kind of what the breakdown looks like of their business between Azure 365, managed services, professional services, if they offer those. Like, what does the whole pie look like? Not that we wanted to expose who the partner was, but rather we wanted to expose just the breakdown in percentage, right, of what their business total looked like, so that you guys can see what a successful MSP makeup looks like, and maybe help you figure out how to move forward in that. There's still more coming, so I'm trying to keep my momentum up because I'm running out of time. Managed services, if you don't offer it, I would surely suggest that you get into it. Consulting and implementation, pro services like Andrew getting on, they're all ways for you guys to make more money, which I'm probably preaching to the choir because I know a lot of MSPs that have both managed and consulting services. Training and support. Your customers don't know how to utilize Azure services or Office services any better than the rest of us, and a lot of times they need help. Cost management and efficiencies. Drive it through your existing customer base, right? Your overall, so what we see is the customer's doing $5,000 a month, and we do an optimization exercise, which is cost management and efficiency. We see a dip in that monthly recurring revenue, maybe goes down to, I don't know, $4,500 or $4,300. But what it does, it hurts us for a little bit, but what it does in the long run is it builds trust in your customer relationship to know that you're taking care of them and you're not in it just for the money. And ultimately, they will do more, which will drive that MRR up higher, even beyond the $5,000 that it started at. So I'm going to skip over here. Starting the conversation. This slide, we bantered around with it internally, just because for a presentation, there's a lot on the slide. But what we like about it is it's going after key services in Microsoft Azure and giving you open-ended questions, for the most part, that you can ask customers to, have a conversation. Usually, if you ask customers what keeps them up at night, they're pretty happy to tell you if you have a good relationship, what's going on, and they may tell you more than what you even thought to ask. So it's really great to be able to just share those with the customer. So I kind of already went over this. We need to have a cloud first mindset. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Your traditional sellers versus cloud first sellers. I think it's just so important to make sure that you've aligned. If you decide you want to build an Azure practice, So building an Azure practice, it's basically, if I summarize it up again, it's saying, I'm not just here to do Azure, and if a customer's interested, come talk to me. It's I'm intentionally making the decision that I'm going to be cloud first. I'm going to build an Azure practice, which means I'm going to have multiple opportunities coming to me every single month. I'm going to build this business. And that's what basically we're calling an Azure practice. And I'm just saying, if you haven't set a target, just say you're going to do 2 or 3 deals a month, and then have a way to hold yourself accountable. Or if you need help, shoot me a note. I would be happy again to put a 30-minute meeting twice a month or once a month on our calendars. And I'll say, hey, how'd you make out? What did you need? What obstacles did you have? And collect them from your team so that you can have a good conversation. And let's get over the nut and start. Hopefully a year from now, we can come, if we were to get together again, you guys would all be saying to me that you're doing 10 or 12 or 15 deals a month in Azure. You got customers coming, just super excited of all the things that you've done, and you've maximized your rebates, and you're making bank, I like to say. Making the change to cloud first. Basically, I'm just going back to what I've already told you. What does your leaders and managers think? What kind of sellers are on your staff? Are they hardware sellers? Are they cloud sellers? Do they sell both? If they sell both, if they're incented to sell hardware at a bigger number than Azure, because it's the smaller number, well, water goes through the least resistant path, and so do salespeople. We go to where we make the most money. So keep an eye on that. Do we need to add Azure focus sellers and technical resources? My take on it is, and Sherweb is, hey, come use us. Like, let us be really busy for you. We're willing. I mean, if you guys, we had a bunch of partners come in with new opportunities. Sherweb's willing to make the investments in the staff. We'll staff to meet demand. We'll find partners through our network relationship, white labeled, right? All working through Sherweb. We'll get the job done. What we need your help to do is just, bring us opportunities and make money doing it. Nerdio Manager, I want to just jump through here real quick. For MSPs, Nerdio is a fantastic tool. We highly support them. They are a different company, and these slides are their slides, not Sherweb slides. I just want to call that out for you. But Nerdio Manager makes Azure really easy, primarily focused on Azure Virtual Desktop. They're also breaking out into endpoint identity management, SaaS management. So you wouldn't buy your Microsoft licensing through Nerdio, you would still buy it through Sherweb, but you can manage the licensing and the deployment of the licensing through the Nerdio tool. And they're getting into security. Defender is a big thing now. 5 years ago, it wasn't such a big thing. Satya Nadella is investing billions of dollars into security, and they are a behemoth, and he is going to make it work. So don't be afraid to check out Defender for Security. I follow a third party, a security expert on YouTube. I've got it up here on my other screen. And he talked about Defender for Cloud, and basically for the majority of the security services, not the big ones like Symantec or Trend Micro, but like your Kaspersky and stuff like that, Defender for Cloud is just as good, and it's free. So I'm not saying anymore. You get go live engineers. So if you're trying to get set up, you've got Sherweb. We'll help you. Our pro services team is here to help you. If you want to try Nerdio, they've got fantastic APIs between Azure and their software. They also have go live engineers. To me, it's a simple way to manage your Azure and your customers' Azure managed. Sorry, it's a simple way to manage your customer's environment by using the Nerdio platform. So if you want to give it a shot, please do. Please reach out to our Azure team. So call your account manager. You're on the webinar. Like to check out Nerdio, and then our team will get you set up with Nerdio. I'm not, Nerdio, if you call them directly, they'll get you set up too. But we would love to have your reoccurring revenue that you earn through using the Nerdio tool. We get a discount. We pass it on to you guys. You're not paying MSRP if you go direct to Nerdio. So we'd like to have that opportunity. Ease of management, I think I talked about that. Cost optimization, Nerdio's got a great way to do it. Adding in third-party, so when you make a golden image in Nerdio and you're adding in, let's say, a bunch of third-party software applications for your customer, you can make the image with all those applications on it, or you could actually, they pull from a library. So if by chance you have an image and then let's say you forgot about an application, you can go in their library, oh yeah, it's there, and you can add it in as you're deploying it out to create the VMs for the users. It's a couple of notes down, or testimonials down here. You'll have the slide deck as well as the presentation. It'll be up on YouTube too, probably in a week or two. We'll have it all up there for you as well. So if you want to go over it, you've got a couple of different ways to get there. So now you created an Azure practice. I want to try to like look down the road for you. You got an Azure practice. You're winning opportunities. You're winning 3 to 5 opportunities consistently every single month, right? Now what's next? What's the next path? Creating your own intellectual property offering. So I've thrown down some examples. Our team has thrown down some examples. Some of them are really easy. Some of them could be more complicated. You may be thinking, or maybe over the holidays, you're like, hey, I could do this. We've got partners that do security best practices on Azure. And so what I'm getting at with this slide is if you come up with a best practice with intellectual property that is unique to your business and you want to go to market with it, you can package it all up and you can upload it to the Azure Marketplace. And then any customer around the world that's looking for what you offer can reach out to you and start, using your services through the Azure Marketplace. So it could be another revenue stream for you outside of like I'm in New York, so maybe I just have like a New York base or maybe a USA base. Maybe I want to be able to branch out and get more. There's some challenges around doing more in a different country. We can talk to you about that. Basically, if you decided you're in the US and you got a customer in Canada, then you want to make sure you have a presence in Canada with your business. And then you can sell in Canada and invoice in Canada. But I don't want to get too far down the road in that. We can have that conversation at another time. So factors to keep in mind: technical expertise. We would love to have and be your technical support, getting your customers going and getting you set up. I'm not going to read through all these. I would start with the AZ900 or the SC900. If you do decide to go and take my comments to heart and go get the AZ or the SC900, please reach out to your account manager because they can get you 50% off on the cost of certification. That's a program that we have here at Sherweb that you can take advantage of. Business processes, things that you need to keep in mind, like can your business manage reoccurring billing? If you can't, and we've had partners that can't, then that you got to get over that hurdle before you get into the Azure business. Aligning your business process and your financial strategies with Azure can lead to significant benefits, and making sure that you're aligned through your whole business. I've worked with lots of partners, and if you ever get the opportunity to talk to Ron Farrar, Ron and I go back a few years. We have a similar thought process. I think actually all of the Azure team really has a similar process. So if you were to talk to them about stuff that I talked about today, you're probably going to hear a little bit of parroting because we all think similarly in Azure. But yeah, he is a great advocate of Azure and getting you set up, making sure things are working well. Tools and investments, like you have a remote monitoring and management tool. you have a professional services automation tool? Do you have a ticketing tool, stuff like that, invoicing tool to get you over managing reoccurring revenue and billing? I'm 5 minutes from the top of the hour, and if there are any more questions, I'd love to hear it. I threw this up. I already spoke about the VMware Azure piece. I just wanted to put it on the slide so you have something to look at, maybe reflect on. If you used to do Azure, if you were in business before VMware came to market and you remember what happened there, just apply some of those skills to Azure now. And if you go down maybe similar roads, you can get into an Azure environment. There is also a way, if your customer is in a VMware environment today, and we've heard about everything that Broadcom's brought to the VMware world, if that's of concern for you and your customers, we can certainly migrate from VMware into Azure. Our team can do it all day long, or Hyper-V environments into Azure, or physical servers, whatever it looks like. Please, we would just love to have an opportunity to talk with you. And if you're willing, talk with your customer and help you find opportunities and win deals. Call to action, right? Number one, adopt a cloud-first mindset for your team, not just you, not just one, for everybody needs to have a cloud-first mindset. A plan. What's the plan going to be? I would start simple, 1 or 2 or 3 new opportunities let's start January, right? So in January, I want to get 1 to 3 net new Azure opportunities under my belt. I'd even challenge you right now as you're listening to me, think of 1 or 2 or 3 customers you have a good relationship with, not to say that anything's going to go wrong. We execute extremely well. But if something did happen, because it is your first opportunity, maybe you missed something, or maybe, I don't know, there was something weird, customers are very forgiving if you have a good relationship with them. And then put your competitors on notice, like, hey, Mr. Telco, we have a great relationship, but if Azure ever comes up, we're an Azure customer. Oh, by the way, Mr. Customer, I just want you to know, if anything comes up, we do Azure here. We're super excited about it, and we'd love to talk with you about it and see if I'm positive there's some probably business concerns of yours and needs that we could actually provide a solution to that you'd really, really like. Can I have a conversation? And then review compensation. Make sure your people are as equally or better compensated for cloud than they are for traditional hardware. I'm not saying not compensate people for traditional hardware, right? I'm just saying be cloud first. The market is going this way. The industry's going this way. I'm not saying that the hardware server business is forever gone or is going to disappear. If it does, it's going to take a number of years. But your competitors are doing cloud first. The MSPs, the Azure practice partners rather, that we have relationships with here at Sherweb, they think cloud first. So let's do that together. Upcoming events. So there's on the 19th, we actually have the product manager from Microsoft. He's actually an SME, super smart guy, wrote cmd.exe, which I think a lot of people use today. I believe that was on his Facebook page. He's going to be here live in a webinar. Love for you to jump in, click the link when you get the deck, or go to the knowledge-network at sherweb.com and register for it. And then after that, land your first Azure opportunity. That presentation is going to dovetail nicely into this presentation. And our goal for 2025 is to have each one of our presentations kind of dovetail into the last one and the next one. And hopefully by the end of the year, there's a good story that's been told on, how to win my first opportunity, how to build a practice, how to find AVD opportunities, how to, work with storage, there's a ton coming your way. So please keep an eye on the knowledge-network. Talk to your account manager, ask him if there's a new list. Oh, I didn't also throw a plug in for every Wednesday at 1:00. I do an Azure webinar. So it's 1 o'clock on Wednesdays. You can join. You can come see one. I think there's 6 in the series right now. You can see all 6 if you like. If you need to know what's coming up, we're going all the way through to the middle of December. Please reach out to your account manager. They can send you the schedule, which is in OneNote. And please register. I'd love to see you there. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. And last but not least, at the very end of this deck is resources that you can take advantage of. I did a exercise on the Azure calculator. So if you're thinking, hey, I love to just figure out how that thing works, I've been using it for, I think, 12 years. And I've got a small idea of how it works. So I did a video on it. Click the link. You can go and take advantage of it. And I'm going to stop. It's 2 o'clock, and I know I'm probably right on time. But if you do have any questions, I will hang out right here for the next 5 minutes or so. You're welcome to stay. Shoot me an email. Drop it in the Q&A. Thanks for joining, and have a great Thursday.
For those of you who have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A window, and we will stick around for the next couple of minutes to answer any questions that come in. Seems like there's no questions, but if you have any, always feel free to reach out to your account manager or sales representative, and they'll make sure to pass them along and make sure you get the right help.
Yeah, one more thing I was going to say. If by chance you're like, I don't have an account manager, please reach out to partners@sherweb.com.
Awesome. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you all for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you at our next webinar.
See ya.